Welcome friends to another r/prorevenge video. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And our first story of the day is by Billiam201, $10 and a pencil. A few years ago, after changing jobs, I found myself in a new office with a new phone number. After some orientation, training, and other new hire stuff, I finally get to sit down and do the things. I get my voicemail and answering machine set up the email, and the phone rings. I say, "Good morning, Railroad Engineering." They say, "Yeah, when can I take the GED test?" I say, "Sorry, wrong number." Click. Rings again. "Seriously, when can I take the GED test?" I say, "Like I said, wrong number, bye." This went on for weeks, 15 to 20 calls a day, people screaming at me for not being the Adult Learning Center. One day, an epiphany. They say, "This isn't the Adult Learning Center?" I say, "Nope." They say, "Do you know the number?" I say, "Check Google." They say, "I did. This is the number on their website." Oh, really? A little Google foo of my own, and I dig up a few numbers and give them a call. They tell me that they don't maintain their website, and there's nothing they can do about it, and it's not their problem. I'm just going to have to deal with it. My favorite line of the conversation was, "What are you going to do about it? I work for the state. You can't do poop. Bye-bye." And you can imagine that bye-bye just dripped with the condescension that only hubris and decades of Karenhood can muster. Oh, heck no. Let's dance. The next day, "Good morning, Railroad." They say, "When can I take the GED test?" I say, "We give that on request. It takes about an hour and a half. Come on down." They say, "Oh, awesome. How much is it?" I say, $10. Bring a pencil. We'll sharpen yours, but we can't supply them. Budget cuts, you know. They say, "No, I get it. See you in a bit." I say, "Take your time. They don't like me telling you this, but if you get here before we close, they have to give you the test. See you when you get here." They say, "Thanks, man. See you later." Now, for those of you who don't know, the GED test takes a whole naughty day. It also costs upwards of $100 depending on the state. In the state I was living and worked in at the time, it was around $200. As such, it was only offered at certain intervals. So as I was telling dozens of people per day that it was $10, took 90 minutes, and was offered on request, I'm sure that they were absolutely inundated with angry people with freshly sharpened number 2 pencils, waving their $10 bills and demanding the test that the guy on the phone told them they could come and take. Every morning, I checked the website to see if my phone number was still on there. I also took the liberty of crawling around and getting the phone numbers for some managers. I was happy to hand these out when people called back to complain that they hadn't been allowed to take the test. Head back down there and ask to speak to random director and tell them that they called the number on the website and this is what they were told. It took them about 6 more weeks to change the website. For some reason, all of the managers' numbers disappeared from the website as well. Considering this was more or less a last resort type option, would you feel guilty about kind of messing with these people, misleading them about their GEDs? Or considering it's all you got left, maybe you wouldn't try to think too hard about it? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by Josie Maeve X, How I Messed Up My Nasty Neighbor's Marriage. My mother and I moved back to Germany for a year after her and my dad split up. She'd been a housewife for most of their marriage and even quit university because she got pregnant with me, and my father, who was a quite bit older, had a good job and was able to support her well. So when we moved back to Germany and stayed at my aunt's, my mother didn't have many qualifications. But she did courses at night and worked during the day to take care of me, and I'm proud of her. I also didn't want too much of a burden on her, and I like to be independent, so I took up small jobs like babysitting. One of our neighbors who was good friends with my aunt and quite well off would pay me quite a lot to mind their kids. I almost became like a cheap nanny and would spend some weekends just minding them all day. While I liked getting paid and the children were lovely, I really didn't like the couple. See, my mother's German and my dad is Jamaican, and mixing this couple didn't approve of, and the wife would occasionally say offensive things in a roundabout way about me being half Jamaican or just my dad. Like if I made a mistake, she would say I need to listen to my native half, meaning German. She later changed it to be brighter since it was too on the nose. She would also take digs at my mother in the most passive-aggressive ways, always going on about her PhD and being a professor, and how she's glad her life didn't get sidetracked by bad influences, meaning my mother ending up with a Jamaican. It was constantly like this and worse. I think it bothered me more than it bothered my mother, who never let what others said get to her. Now the husband, well, where do I start? He would always eye me, like constantly staring at me and mentally undressing me. I tried to ignore it for the most part, but I knew his wife sometimes caught it and it pissed her off, which made me sort of like it. He would always say suggestive things, and I'm pretty sure that he paid me far more than they normally would, and that pissed her off even more. I'm pretty sure if it weren't for him, she would have fired me, but he's clearly the dominant of the two. I did think of quitting as well, but they had a niece who would visit often, and she was about my age and we got along well. So really I kept on good terms with the family because they were my neighbors and paid well, but mostly because of their niece. But when my mother announced we were leaving Germany again because she got an opportunity abroad, the husband started to get a bit more aggressively suggestive, and his wife got nastier, and I was starting to get more pissed off. Her husband started following and interacting with my social media more. He would also send me memes which would turn into text messages that went on late. I feel bad because I indulged it, partly because I was afraid and didn't want to rock the boat, and partly because I knew it was pissing off his wife. He accidentally sent me a pic with him topless in a towel once, then immediately said it was for his wife. One day, I was in their pool with their niece. The husband joined us, and while play fighting in the water, he came up behind and accidentally copped a feel. At this stage, I told myself I was going to do something to get them back before we left Germany. At dinner that night with him, his wife and my family and I joked about a watered-down version of the pool incident at the dinner table. Everyone thought it was just an off comment and laughed it off, but he went very quiet, and I could tell despite laughing, his wife wanted to kill him with her eyes. Me and their niece got into an argument after because she said my joke was inappropriate, and I said that her uncle was inappropriate, kinda tongue-in-cheek, but also not really. It's not like I had proof either because I deleted all his messages. After that, we weren't as close anymore. You'd think this incident would have stopped my neighbor from being suggestive, but he only got worse and would openly say things like, "Let me squeeze," but as a joke. So on my last day babysitting while the kids were asleep, I stayed in their pool with their niece. The husband came out and sent her off to a local shop to get something for him, saying he had a bad back. Yeah, right, he just wanted to be alone with me. He got in the pool and started play fighting in the water again. I got out for a few minutes, and while upstairs, saw his wife cycling towards the house, and straight away I got an awful idea, but right then I didn't care. I ran back for the pool and took off my top. I told him, "Is that what you were waiting for then?" And he grinned like an idiot. I jumped in the water and waited till the very last moment before letting him reach me, asking to get on his shoulders, and he let me on. In mere seconds, his wife walked out into the back garden, seeing me on his shoulders in the condition that I was. She was speechless and paler than pale. He froze, and when she managed to finally say something, he lied about saying the straps off my top must have come off and he didn't notice. But I just said in a laughing voice that we were just playing. Without saying a word, his wife just turned and walked back into the house. He got out of the pool and went after her. He didn't say much at all to me after, and paid me 5 times the amount, saying to just forget the pool. That was the last day I saw that man. After moving, I learned from my aunt that shortly after, the couple went into marriage counseling, which according to her was weird because they were the perfect power couple of the neighborhood and were the backbone of the community, never having major issues. I feel sort of bad for it because of the kids and that I escalated things too far, but honestly, a part of me says screw that couple. I haven't told my mother all this yet, not because she'd be angry with me, but because she'd be upset that I went through this alone. To me, I think probably the worst part of this story is the fact that all of this went down and nobody was really willing to take OP seriously. Like, I guess unless OP went out there and petitioned and made all these direct claims out loud up front to whoever in that circle would have listened, Otherwise, all those people seem just fine pretending that it didn't happen, or just looking the other way and acting like nothing did ever happen. The lengths to which OP felt necessary to go to just to prove that this guy is who this guy actually is honestly just kinda sad. Our next story is by Redbeard BS. Your friends can get you evicted. I used to live in some bad apartments built in the 60s for student housing, then converted to regular housing. The apartments were 3 stories high with a courtyard in the middle. Rent was cheap, and this attracted some interesting people. I lived on the 2nd floor, and a group of college kids moved in below me. Not a big deal. My biggest issue was them yelling at their cricket and soccer matches at 3 a.m. They were international students studying in the US, but I worked the night shift and found it quite entertaining to hear the explosions of excitement and disappointment. My issue didn't start with the group living below me, but their friends. The group had thrown a small party to watch a soccer match. They disbanded just before sunrise as I'm getting home from work. I enter the courtyard to head up to my apartment and notice a bunch of trash. I ignore it and go up to my apartment and fall asleep. I wake up and go outside for a cigarette, and I see the neighbors' friends arrive and walk through the courtyard. As they get close, I see both of them drop their trash, drink cup, and McDonald's bags into a bush in the courtyard. I got upset. I know they'd walked past at least 2 trash cans from the parking lot to the courtyard, not just being lazy but intentionally trashing the place. I call the property management and tell them what I saw. Management ended up having several of them evicted. It definitely seems like a bit of a steep jump going from littering to straight eviction, but being totally honest myself, if I saw these people littering around the courtyard outside my apartment, I'd be feeling the same type of way and I'd probably reach out to management as well. There's just no excuse when you're walking by trash cans to put it all in a bush. Why even do that? This next story is by BoomWHacker14, Gum Throw Revenge. I walk around my neighborhood every evening after dinner for some exercise. About a week ago, while I'm walking down the sidewalk, I see a jacked up green Jeep with monster tires turn onto the same road and head towards me. The Jeep looks like an older army style, so it's different than a lot of the newer Jeeps around. There's a teen/early 20s girl riding shotgun staring at me. I watched her take her gum out of her mouth, then she threw it and hit me in the shoulder. She was definitely trying to hit me. I was shocked and yelled, "You freaker," at her and gave her the double bird, but they sped off down the road. I've been looking out for that Jeep ever since, and I found it last night parked in a driveway about a mile from where they hit me. So I went home and found some gum and chewed it up, then wrote a note saying, "Your passenger threw this at me, so I brought it back," and stuck the gum to the note. Then I rode my bike back to their house and threw my note into the Jeep so it landed in their cup holders. I had been considering a bunch of other things to throw into that Jeep if I found it, like I also walk my dog every day and pick up her poop in nice throwable bags, but I decided a note with a little chewed gum was good enough for me to get my petty revenge. I definitely think sticking to just the gum is enough. It might be a fun thought thinking about throwing that dog hazardous waste into their vehicle, but I just think we should try and keep it an eye for an eye, probably. And our final story of the day is by Slow Llama. When I was 16, I had to do work experience with the girl who bullied me. This girl, we'll call E, was one of the popular girls and would bully me and my friends almost daily. For work experience, I had to go to a hair salon and was gutted to find out that E would be there on work experience as well. Weirdly, she was being really nice and friendly towards me, most likely because she couldn't show off in front of her friends. At one point, I was told to try out washing hair. The person to practice on? E. While washing her hair, I accidentally got water all over her face. She was absolutely soaked. I apologized profusely as she stormed off. I totally did it on purpose. Screw you, E. Let's be real, if you get a golden opportunity to give a little bit of payback to somebody that's been bullying not only you, but you and your friends, and not only having that opportunity, but knowing it probably won't get any kind of kickback, at least in that moment, from the bully for whatever you do, most of us would probably take that chance. Though then again, sometime down the road, you never know what they might throw back at you because you did that to them. But it seems like it was a good ending for OP here, and I think that's really what counts the most. Harmless good revenge and a good outcome. But with that being said, that's a wrap on another bunch of stories here today. As always, if you guys have any favorite videos of this bunch, let me know which one in the comments down below and why. And if you enjoyed the stories in general, if you could subscribe to this channel, it'd mean a lot to me. I make these videos daily, and it's by far and away the best way to support my channel. So no matter what you did, whether it was subscribing or liking, leaving a comment, I just appreciate the heck out of you guys. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with even more stories right here on the Storytime channel.